Welcome to today's episode, the podcast where we discuss the most recent installments of a different series every show. It's Friday, Valentine's Day, February 14th, the busiest day of the year. If you're a florist, happy Valentine's Day to all. Today we're talking about Netflix's new show, Cassandra. It's a German show about an antique smart home that's revived when a family moves in. The son just goes downstairs and turns the whole thing on. Technically, something can't be an antique unless it's 100 years old. So I'm using hyperbole because I could call it vintage, but that wouldn't put the same emphasis, I think, on what the show is trying to do. I think it's supposed to be like a modern steampunk world where instead of what the 1800s and 1900s had like a lot of mechanical parts moving, to
Right.
show off how the future of technology would look, we already know that everything's going to be computers. So when we concentrate on old computers and we say, what if those were evil? That's new. And so, what was your first, growing up, your first version of smart technology or smart home?
Whenever I see any smart homes, I still think about just it being kind of suburban. I always picture a blue refrigerator and kind of those weird TVs that they always show, like an Edward Scissorhands type of 1950s suburbia. But I also think about things like Fallout 4, the beginning of that, or something like Big Bug, the film by the Amelie director that came out a couple
That's
years ago
all
on
over the map.
Netflix.
Yeah, for me, it's just one movie in 1999. It was called Smart Mom or something like that, where the
Smart mom.
kid, I don't know what it was called, but it was the kid reprogrammed the smart home that his dad to make it so that the dad would date the mom of the,
Oh,
or
I
that the
think I remember seeing the
yeah,
trailer
I
for
think that
that.
the
Yeah.
house ended up falling in love with them too much, and it just became too controlling, and then they had to destroy it or something.
That's very much like the Twilight Zone episode where it was like a computer falls in love with the person that was working with it. I
Right.
think it was like the 1950s,
You
but
also see
yeah.
Computer Mom in the Umbrella Academy.
Umbrella Academy, sure, yeah.
Sure, I have a list of comparisons. They're in my con section because this show does fall into some tropes.
Mhm.
And so when it does that, it definitely reminds me of other things. But let's concentrate on the good stuff right
Right.
now. So this family is in Germany and they need a new place to stay. So they've moved into a house. The kids have school starting the next day. Who wouldn't want to at least visit a smart home, if not own a smart
Right.
home? So what was your favorite feature when they first moved in? Was it the indoor swimming pool? Was it that weird man cave that they had downstairs? Was it the computer room?
I mean, this seemed like from the outside, it didn't look like a mansion, but it seemed like from the inside, it had like a ton of stuff, but probably the swimming pool that you
Yeah, it
mentioned.
seems
Yeah.
like it would be pretty expensive. And I don't know who was doing the upkeep because you would think that the technology wouldn't have been able to exist. The rats would have gone inside and eaten all the wires and stuff.
Right. So when the I know we're probably going to get there, but when the robot ran over the rat, that was the most Sunny, but not Sunny from the TV series, Sunny from the book.
Yeah.
If you remember the book, I was saying how Sunny was just this evil character, and 100% Cassandra fit like that same exact mold.
Right. So you're a teenager, you get into your house, your parents have just bought, you find out that there's all these TVs everywhere. You go downstairs, you see a big wrench that you can move, whatever, a handle, whatever they're called. And he pulls it and then
Lever.
lever. Thank you. They all go to sleep that night. The thing blinks on, and then suddenly there's a vacuum Dyson robot with a face on it that's going to every single room, checking up on everybody. The daughter screams, everybody wakes up, and there's Cassandra. Cassandra now runs the whole house, and they are all okay with it at first. And so the kids then go to school, and they have varying degrees of success blending in. But at the same time, Cassandra seems a little suspicious. She's doing some strange stuff, and it takes the mom's always the one in these type of shows to notice first, right?
Right.
Because it's even that movie that came out earlier this year with the Harold and Kumar guy, Afraid, right?
Afraid. Yeah.
Where the mom
Right.
was replaced by AI and she was getting really, really upset about
Also on
that.
Netflix. Yeah.
And then the AI tries to kill everybody or kill the parents at least, kidnap the kids. So something's going on here. We've seen Cassandra on her own kill a rat at the beginning or a mouse, and then we see her try to take out the mom while she goes swimming. And we can just tell at the very end there, she starts a big fire because the mom finds, and the mom's name is what?
Samira.
Samira. Samira finds this old projector from the previous family. I guess no one has lived there from the 70s onward.
Right.
Again, the upkeep, it doesn't make much sense. But she finds the projector. She starts opening up all the files and looking at all the images, and she recognizes that Cassandra is actually the mom in the pictures. So whoever built the technology based her off that previous version. This is definitely like Portal.
You said the upkeep doesn't make sense, but I already have a theory that like, and I think it's almost confirmed that Cassandra obviously wasn't just awoken for 50 years. I think that she's
Well, she
like
wasn't asleep
always.
for the last 50 years.
Yeah, I think that she's been like awake and
But
she's
like,
been.
who moved the lever then?
I'm not sure. See, there's things that the show they're going to have to explain, but I think that Cassandra has some outside force. That's usually what happens with these evil robot
But
characters.
see, like, if it was built in the 70s, the internet wasn't really a thing, and
Right.
so there wouldn't be an outside force. There wouldn't be like a cloud to tell her when to turn
Well,
on or
like you said,
anything.
I feel like that's such a big problem with the show if they aren't going to address how the house has been so
Well
nicely
maintained.
kept. Yes, yeah.
There's other things that I have that they do. So maybe we should transition over into cons. But overall, I really thought that the name of the episode, Fresh Start,
The first start, yeah.
complements what the show is trying to show you, which is it's this new thing. Cassandra sees herself in the images and then starts that fire at the end as soon as the wife goes to sleep. Clearly, she has jealousy issues because in the pictures, it seems like the husband in that timeline had started maybe to have an affair. And so that's what really rattled Cassandra the robot. And
Why do you think she wanted to was it just the mom, though, that was inside the house, or was it everyone?
everybody was inside. Everybody had gone to sleep.
So do you think that because you said that she has a personal vendetta against the mom, but do you think that she's just going to try and, like, kill everyone?
I don't
'Cause
think she was, when she started the fire, acting on anything but just anger that she was watching this image and having to recreate that memory in her mind or whatever she has, her computer mind. Yeah. So let's get the comparisons out of the way. Let's identify the tropes and see where I'm coming from when I say that's the negative.
right.
The family move in plot pilot. We've seen that with Shining Vale. We've seen it with Lock and Key. We've seen it with Hill House, and we've seen it with Spiderwick Chronicles. I think my favorite was probably Hill House because it felt the most, I don't know, different and cool.
And in all those, almost the house is its own type of
Absolute
character.
monster house.
Yeah.
It's always monster house in some way. And there's always like a hidden room too,
Right.
right? The red room where in Spiderwick Chronicles, there was that the thing that they had to knock down the wall with. I'm not sure with Shining Vale, I didn't see that, but Lock and Key for sure has a billion hidden rooms. Rosie the family robot. That's the second trope, which is just the idea that there's a happy robot that's helping out the family.
Right.
You mentioned Sunny. Um, that's what Sunny was built for. You also, or I mentioned Afraid. That was the AI that got implemented into the house. Technically,
Right.
sort of a robot. Megan, an actual doll robot. Lost in Space, you have the one that's helping Will Robinson. Better Than Us was that Russian show. I don't think you're going to get a lot more Russian shows on Netflix, but that was about sort of humanoid robots as well.
Right, it's always a question on if they're going to be evil and if they're going to be good, and then usually there's always at least one that's good and one that's evil, and they have to, like, fight it out or something.
Sometimes, yeah. And then in Humans, that's certainly the case. But in Humans, I think that's one of the closest comparisons to this show because the main character in that was half robot, and it was actually the creator's son who was turned like who had died, but they brought him back to life with like machine parts. He was like a RoboCop version of himself. And so that's how I see Cassandra, and also how you see her in Portal, the GLaDOS character who is based off someone. The main first person is usually always the robot is usually based off a real person.
And I thought that, like, kind of when you go to theatrical films, something like Chappie, that, Chappie
I
is a
haven't seen it.
robot, but I think that the plot there is that he ends up being a bad robot that turns good.
Huh.
So it's kind of I'm not sure if they're gonna go that same path with this, but I felt like it was the same thing.
There does seem to be a common element that there's always a grieving member of that family, or maybe the whole family's grieving a passing. In this case, it's the aunt who had passed away.
Yep.
In Megan, the Megan was a replacement for the kid's mom, right? Sunny, it was the replacement for
The husband
the
and the
husband
kid,
and the
yeah.
son. And in Better Than Us, I think it was also the mom's character. In Humans, it's absolutely the son and also his mom. I think his mom was also turned into a robot at one point. A hidden door in the house I mentioned that reminds me of Parasite, Channel Zero, season 4, and Coraline. So they're trying to mix and match all these kind of like cliche stuff that we see in these sci-fi shows, and then the mom and the dad using the move to reset their relationship, because we do catch some conversation with David and, once again, give me her name,
Samira.
Samira, talking about how they're going to use this move as a chance to repair. Maybe one of them cheated, but
And that's very much Shining Vale because there was
right,
the whole
yeah,
affair thing
and
that
Hill
happened.
House. Yeah,
Yep.
and I finally found the name of that, movie from 1999. It was called Smart House, and yeah, the description is as I said, they reprogrammed the surrogate mother, and, yeah, it doesn't end the way that I said it did, where they just kill her off, by the way, so if anybody does wanna go back and check out that
It
really
sounded like
corny
a
movie.
kids movie
It was
from the
like a
beginning.
Nickelodeon thing, I don't
Yep.
know. I didn't see it when it came out, I saw it several years later, but, the concerns over Robot, you look at what Cassandra is doing, and you wonder why the family kinda just is okay with that. First of all, if you move into a house and you turn on the robot and you see Cassandra's face, don't you kind of want to like go into the tech and see if there's like
Yeah.
a customization of making maybe a friendlier looking face? Because she looks very stern most of the time.
Well, also, I understood the daughter's reaction. She just looks creepy.
Yeah, and she follows you around in that little Dyson computer. It can lie. Once they find that out, I feel like that's even different than the companion movie. You
Right.
know, it comes with blades. The mom did point that out when it's trimming the lawn. It's moody, so they know that it's moody. They know it can lie, and they know it has blades. I think
That's
that's
when you get rid of it
or that you
somehow.
pause it for a little bit and you figure out what's going on.
From my understanding in the show, there's like, yeah, there's just several different points that viewers have pointed out where it's like this was a huge red flag and they should have absolutely done something
So it's like
about
a
it.
horror film when people point out the things on screen and they're like, "Why aren't they leaving the
Yeah.
house yet?" Okay, the indoor pool. So I was all good with them being like, "Hey, let's try to fix this up ourselves." And I was thinking, "Yeah, that'll probably take you a few weeks, fill it up and everything." They get that pool fixed, cleaned, filled, operational in one night. The next day, she is using it. The mom is, and they never show other than them like sweeping it for 1 second. And with the intervention that Cassandra is suddenly there,
Right.
maybe Cassandra made it work. I don't know, but how did she fill up the pool? And then teachers making a big deal about 7-year-olds adjusting to the class within one day.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I felt like this needed to take place over the course of weeks, but they kept on pointing out that this was all within one day. And so I don't think that the teacher would come out and say, your daughter isn't blending in well when she hasn't done anything
Yeah.
wrong. That seemed ridiculous.
There was a lot of that too. It just seemed like the dad as well. People have pointed out that the dad was just the worst character
Well,
out of the whole
he hasn't
show.
had an opportunity to do much, David.
He just seemed like he was always someone that didn't trust his wife, and also they people were calling him a big cuck in the show just because he didn't do anything. Like he seemed like he was the worst
I'm
character.
afraid you might have been reading too far out because in this first episode, I haven't seen him do anything other than like I guess he got mad about his daughter's situation, the fact that he kind of inferred that she was fat, and I was just like, why are you doing that to a
I think
7-year-old and she's not?
I think when it comes to all of the tropes that you're talking about, people are just tired of the wife not being believed until really the end of the series
Okay.
because this is supposed to
So
be
I
a
assume
limited
that
series.
continues then.
Yeah.
But it's weird because you would think that the fire by itself, unless Cassandra will then blame or it will the blame will go on her for starting for the projector.
Right.
And then Cassandra it'll make it clear that yeah, no, I see what you're saying now. So they're gonna blame the wife and then everybody's gonna think that it's her and then it's gonna take until the end. That's like afraid too, right?
Yep.
All right. So to me, it appears to be a man versus machine setup where the family doesn't know that Cassandra is more dangerous than they expected. In the first scene of the show, which we didn't talk about, we do see a car accident similar to like Dark. German shows love car accidents, and this lady finds this couple finds this accident in the road and saves this. I guess mom and her kid, and then they point and there's Cassandra. So that might have been taking place in the 70s because it certainly wasn't the same family that we see now.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Well, I think yeah, that was supposed to be kind of the last time that Cassandra supposedly was awakened, and because this is just something that she continually
sure, but
does.
like Sunny, where they try to pin some of the evilness on her, but
Right.
then later on in the series we find out she's not to blame. I do feel like we're going to sympathize with Cassandra, and we're also going to realize that what we saw in the accident wasn't necessarily the robot's fault. And maybe she is jealous and vindictive, but that she's not evil. That would not surprise me if that's where this is going. She does seem like she might have a GLaDOS arc. I don't want to get too into spoilers because that is one of my favorite games. But overall, I think I'm going to give the show a 5.5 out of 10.
So
Just the teeniest bit better than average based on the old smart technology premise, which I was really keen on.
but it doesn't pass.
Well, what do you count as passing?
Six
Is
out of
it better
10.
than the normal show? by just a smidgen. Is it something I would ever recommend or go back to unless you're like a big robot fan? Probably not. No.
Again, it's only going to be 6 episodes in a limited series. I don't think they have any plans at all for season 2, hence why it's limited. But Benjamin Goosh, he's the person who directed, wrote all 6 episodes. He created the series. And I know that he's worked with HBO Max before,
We should
but
try to reach out to him and get an insight on what caused it. I also remember reading a thing in middle school about a smart home and technology. I think everybody reads the same story, and I forgot what it's about, but it's like where something comes out and cleans. It was
yep.
like a Roomba beforehand. I wish I remembered more about that.
A lot of the AI films are based off of short stories. In fact, that even ties into one of my games here. I
Go ahead.
wanted to see if you could guess. Again, all these based off of short stories. Which one wasn't? I, Robot, which was based off the short story collection in 1950 named Hardwire. Megan, based off of the 1968 short story Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. The third one was AI, which is based off the 1969 short story Super Toys Last All Summer Long. And the fourth one was Edge of Tomorrow, which was based off a light novel, All You Need Is Kill.
I mean, it's good because I don't know. Obviously, Electric Sheep is something we've talked about before, but I don't know if Megan was particularly like if that was why they made it. They all sound plausible. The toy one I've never heard of before, so I'm gonna just take a shot in the dark and say, what was the last one again?
The last one was The Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah, The Edge of Tomorrow. I thought that Live, Die, and Repeat. And what was the short that you said it was based off of?
Based off a light novel, All You Need Is Kill.
Um, I'll say that.
It was Megan.
It was
That-
Megan. So
do-
it was you were just taking the fact that it was
Yeah,
a
do you
very
remember?
known
Do you remember?
story.
Do Android Dreams of Electric Sheep was really based off of Blade Runner? That was
Well,
what.
no, I thought the whole idea is that I thought it could be applied to anything.
Well, I think it can. Yeah,
Like they literally had Americans episodes making fun of it.
but I'm saying that like with iRobot, it was based off Hardwired. Like there was no like discussion about
Yeah.
it. That was the actual story.
For
Same
sure.
thing with The Edge of Tomorrow. Same thing with AI. Megan, I think it just took like a ton of things and incorporated it into its story.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the toy one is actually the most interesting one to me because I
Super
didn't
Toys
think
last all summer long.
I didn't think that AI was based off anything because it was so like weird, even the ending and stuff. You're saying that's how it ended in the book?
Yeah. I mean,
Cool.
that's the story that I believe it wasn't Stephen King, Steven Spielberg and Stanley Kubrick directed.
Would you want to live in a Cassandra type house that was decent? Like if they could be clearly like the nice thing about Cassandra versus a lot of the AI stuff that we see nowadays is she's not human enough to be concerned about her like replacing humans as
Right.
much.
It's not like Ex Machina or
And it
something.
doesn't seem like she wants to like become a human again. It just seems like she's cool fixing the house, but she can have a little like moodiness to her. So if they can fix that, I see it as like a win-win for everybody involved. But season 2, I know you just said it was a limited series, but that would be kind of funny if it like turned into sort of a comedy of just like, let's live with a robot. All right. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode. Happy Valentine's Day. Bye.
Bye.